awoke from the same nightmare again. The cold void, an eerie voice, the shadows. Then gone. Through my window, the sun broke over the mountains, and I could feel something pulling me towards the forest. I dressed and hurried from the tavern, following the pull. I left the road and entered the trees, walking for what seemed like miles, until the pull became so strong it was all-encompassing. Then the air shimmered, and I felt a great wave of power pass through me. Appearing was a great tree, surrounded by ancient, ruined walls and platforms, grown over with plants, untouched, as if for millennia. I'd heard of hearth groves before, but never seen one until now. And yet, this seemed so familiar. I was drawn to it. My hands tensed, then shook. A bright aura burst from my fingers, energy flowing into its trunk. I felt pain. But then I realized the hurt wasn't mine. I was killing the tree. But I couldn't stop myself. All I could do was watch it happen. The tree burst, exploding in light and wooden shards. The energy wrapped around me, too powerful, like a bigger flame snuffing out a smaller one. I was going to die. But then, she appeared. A figure was suddenly floating in the air. She wore robes and a golden mask, her long dark hair flowing in the wind. My being was melting away from the tree's energy. It was too much. I was certain that I was about to die. But then its stream broke from me. I saw what remained flow into the masked woman, saving me from certain death. Then she spoke. "The dungeon lords shall rise, and the sun will fall." It was like in my dreams. A hurricane of books rose from a cavity in the ruins. Like a tornado bound in chains, there must have been 1,000 or more. Dragon scale bindings, alive with corruption, and singular eyes, burning. I felt drained, unable to stand or form words. The masked figure raised her hand, charging her fist with power. She meant to kill me, and I never would have known what had happened or why. I don't know where the knight came from, but suddenly he was there, tall and armored in worn leather. Sir Caldor raised his shield, deflecting the blast of energy. He was joined by an old man, thin and wiry, seemingly another mercenary. I pulled the last teleportation bead from my pouch, gripped it tight, and focused my thoughts on the two brooks. In an instant, we were gone. Sir Caldor and his accomplice teleported with me. This was unfortunate, because after all, I was their prey. The mercenaries were startled. We didn't have time to speak, though, because we heard a rising chorus, a growling and trampling coming from the trees. To our shock, creatures skidded onto the road. Some I recognized from the forest, like a falba, except its feathers were mottled with corruption. I prepared myself to run, to get far away from this madness. It was all too much, too fast. But the townspeople were being overrun. The flower stall knocked over. Talon's mother gripped the small girl, defenseless against the onslaught. So I ran to them, turning against the creatures, finding the will and strength to fight, entering combat for the first time in earnest. What magic did to living creatures was violent and gruesome. I killed, purely to survive. Surprisingly, Sir Caldor and his accomplice took up arms, defending the townspeople. We rallied for what seemed like hours. until finally the attack subsided. The remains of monsters littered the streets. I learned the old man's name was Bancroft. He was exceedingly skilled with daggers and throwing knives. Near the end, I was exhausted and mistakenly let my guard down. I felt a sting in my shoulder. Bancroft had shot me with his crossbow. The bastard! I tried to run, but the world went hazy and dark. Dreading that the worst was ahead of me, I fell unconscious.